Hi friends, welcome to EMRS PGT English Paper 2. We are discussing literature in that part 2. In last class we have discussed that all the nature of history, comedy, romance and tragedy. William Wordsworth, romantic period we are learning. William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, P.B. Shelley and John Keats, and the last one is the Lord Byron. Of course, you know that well. And finally, Lord Byron, the most flamboyant of them all, he created the famous Byronic hero, a proud, passionate, and rebellious figure, often haunted the guilt by desire. In Child Hara's Pilgrimage and Don John, Byron combined adventure, romance, and biting social commentary. The romantic poets changed the face of literature forever. They gave voice to emotion, celebrated the beauty of nature, and taught the world to value imagination of our intellect. And the third one is 19th and 20th century English and American literature. English and American literature. As the world moved into the modern age, literature took new directions. Of course, we have to accept that all these things. We know that. Writers began to question societal, exploring psychology and reflecting the realities and industrial post-war life. In English literature, one of the great voices, of course we know that well, was George Bernard Shaw. He was not just a dramatist, but also a brilliant social critic. Through his plays like Pygmalion, Man and Superman, and Arms and the Man, Shaw used wit and satire to expose hypocrisy, class prejudice, and the false morality of society. He believed drama could educate as well as entertain, urging people to think and question. Then came to Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller, one of the Americans and most powerful playwrights, his plays explored the moral struggles of ordinary individuals in a world of pressure and expectations. In Death of a Salesman, he portrays the tragedy, downfall of a common man chasing of illusion of success. In The Crucible, he used the Salem witch trials as a metaphor for political persecution and moral corruption. Yes, of course, Death of a Salesman and The Crucible, All My Sons. Then we are learning now American literature. Now moving to American literature, we encounter Walt Whitman. Of course, you know that he is the father of free verse. Walt Whitman is the father of free verse. His monumental work Leaves of Grass broke all traditional poetic forms and celebrated democracy, individuality, and the beauty of everyday life. Democracy and individuality. Right? Of course, if we can see his major works, Whitman saw first the voice of the common man, honest, bold, and deeply human. Right? His major work is Leaves of Grass. Just if we can discuss, the other person is Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson, on the other hand, was a poet of solitude. She lived most of her life in seclusion, writing nearly 1800 poems that were discussed only after our writings. And the themes, the death of death, nature, immortality, poems because I could not stop for death. The poem was really very fine about Emily Dickinson, because I should explain there, her death is also a celebration in that. And the next one from this is Nathaniel Hawthorne. Of course, Nathaniel Hawthorne turned his focus to sin, guilt, and the dark heart of Puritanism. In The Scarlet Letter, he portrayed the struggles of individuals trapped between moral codes and personal freedom. His short stories like Young Goodman, Brown, and the Ministers, Black Veil probe deeply into the conflict between purity and hypocrisy. And it was really extraordinary one. The Scarlet Letter and the short story is also there. The Young Goodman, Brown, the Ministers, Black Veil. Next, then comes to Robert Frost, a poet of rural America. He wrote about simple scenes, snowy woods, country roads, and which was never expected, like romantic period we can compare with William Wordsworth, and stone walls at each carried deep philosophical meaning. In The Road Not Taken, he reminds us that choices we make define our destiny. And of course, how it became very famous, we know that well, everyone. And stepping out of it all, the stopping by woods on a snowy evening, he contemplates duty, peace, and the journey of life. The most probable imaginary with deep philosophical meaning. And of course, you know that well, of Robert Frost. And finally, we came to the last one, Ernest Hemingway. The literature we are discussing about after Elizabethan period or Shakespearean age, after that romantic period we are learning of that all. The final Ernest Hemingway, one of the most influential novelists of the 20th century. His prose was short, sharp, and realistic, known as the iceberg theory, right? Where the deeper meaning lies beneath the surface in novels like The Old Man and the Sea, A Farewell to Arms, and The Sun also rises. Hemingway portrayed courage, loneliness, and the eternal struggle of a man against fate.